Hello and welcome back in to the next edition of My Wheelhouse. I'm your host Sheamus. Today is December 4th, getting into the Christmas season, not quite, but you can feel the Christmas music on the radio. So we're getting into it. Mike and Sloan, what's going on, gentlemen?
How we doing? Quarter of the way into the NBA season?
Yep.
Yeah, moving towards the 1/3 mark. It's
pretty
going
well.
fast. Everything's pretty legitimate now, I would say, when you're looking at things. So it's long enough. It's almost like a college season.
Sample sizes are reasonable. We're getting to the point where rookies get to the point where they almost hit rookie walls. So that's something we should start paying attention to in the coming weeks, whether we see some drops-offs there. Mike, for some reason you're already wearing the medal, but it doesn't matter because you can keep it on because you won last week already.
So I'm tied with you now.
Yep, 4-4. Sloan has yet to get a win, although Sloan had more correct than I did last week. You had 9, he had 10.
There's hope?
Yeah, well, no, maybe not. There'll be hope when you get one win.
I still have hope.
We'll see. So today in the wheel, we'll talk about the Celtics, hopefully. We got a big game tonight against the Bucks, as you can see as how I adorned the table.
Front row seats here.
That's right. I have some good tickets to the game. Shout out to Jeff for that. It's also my good friend.
Deli? Oh,
I was going to give a birthday shout out to my friend Jeremy Chayton.
Okay.
It's also Bernard King's birthday. So
wow, that's good to hear some history on that.
Yeah.
But you will be in court. Are you going to be near the visitors' bench at all or anything?
I think I'm near the Celtics bench.
So you can give me an update maybe on Matthew Dellavedova. I'm still having trouble.
I'll let you know where he is and if he's dressed or whatever.
Okay.
He's in street clothes maybe. Maybe if he's behind the bench sitting where the trainers. If he's handing players water, maybe. I'll let you know.
Okay, thanks. Well, no.
I guess. Very soon after we ended our episode last week where we discussed David Fizdale getting fired, he got let go. Some teams are streaking, and then I just wanted to tease and potentially talk about some top 10 lists in the league today. On My Wheelhouse, welcome to mywheelhouse.com. I'm trying to activate more on there. The guest Biddies, who was on here not that long ago, me and him did a podcast last night, and we discussed we should throw up a list page on the website. So we're going to do every list imaginable. I have like maybe 30 to 40 lists that we can think of, and we're going to try to talk about some of those today. So
Everybody loves lists.
that's right. Lists are exciting. So we can get to the wheel whenever we're ready.
All right.
And around you.
Whoa, that
go
stopped
streaks.
at a
All right,
halt.
so we're streaking. So this is something I want to talk about. Obviously, the streak of the Celtics was a big storyline in the beginning of the season.
We got a new one now.
But since then, that there's much more, not prominent streaks. Obviously, this was the biggest streak and storyline of the season. But we got some negative streaks. The Grizzlies have lost 11 in a row. And we got some interesting streaks, like the Jazz have won 5 in a row since losing Rudy Gobert, which is a shocker. And teams like the Clippers are spiraling. They've lost 4 straight. The Lakers lost 5 straight, which isn't that crazy. The Bulls have lost 9 straight. And then the most notable one is the Cavs are now on an 11-win streak.
Yeah.
Against some ticky-tacky teams, but they've had sprinkled in some good wins there. So I don't know if you guys have any thoughts about these teams that are really rising to their success, maybe their peak as a team, or about the teams that are really falling off the hinges.
Well, I think Memphis is pretty interesting. That they're not, without Conley, they will not pull that together. And I don't know how long he is out. And we were talking a little bit about who might be the next coach to get fired. Whether it's, I think you might see Bickerstaff go from Memphis. You might see coaches in a row there. I don't know how long they can go. 11 in a row. That fan base is not happy.
Usually, you don't fire an assistant coach that's coming in as
Well,
the
they might want a real coach.
Yeah, they'll hire a coach, but you don't fire the assistant interim coach. That person goes back to their original position as assistant. So whoever they bring in, Bickerstaff will go back to being the assistant. That's usually what happens.
Yeah.
Bickerstaff's pretty well respected
He
in
is.
that locker room.
Yeah.
I just don't know how into going for a playoff push that team is at this point.
No playoff push.
Especially considering the next few years, they're going to try to. They'll be trying to get there in the next few years. We have the Celtics have unprotected property of some of their picks down the line too, don't they? So, they might be blowing it up now.
I don't think they're blowing it up now. I just think they're very genuinely bad. When Conley comes back, I spoke on this in the beginning of the season when they were really going off and performing far above their expectations and how they should have been performing, and it was all on the heels of Conley and Gasol performing to their peak levels, and the rest of their team, specifically Tyreek Evans, was having a reclamation career year. But the rest of that roster is very sputtery. The other players are very undependable, even though Chandler Parsons is having his best year so far since signing with the Memphis Grizzlies.
Yeah, he's got that average up to 8.8 points a game.
Right,
Well,
I mean,
he's really cooking.
I mean, for as far as he was, what he was last year, this is good. I mean,
Yeah,
obviously he'll never live up to that
He's only
contract.
played 51 out of 102 games since he's been there.
He's injury prone,
and him
it's a
and
bad
Conley
contract.
their contract is $254 million in contracts to Conley and Parsons.
Right. Well, you can argue.
So
for
you got to
a Conley
blame
contract
Wallace there a little bit too. You know, the GM who was
he's
with
made
the
some bad
Celtics.
I agree with that. It kind of sucks for Fizdale because the GM, I mean, what did they do in the past 5 years? They drafted Hashim Thabit.
O.J. Mello and Hashim Thabit
like you
for
said,
two.
they treated Chandler Parsons like he's some sort of franchise player, and
Right.
I don't think any of
I
us
liked
really
him at the
see him
time
as
when
a
he was
franchise
traded.
player. I like him too, but I liked him for what he was, a role player.
But other
on a good
streaks, I
team.
think Cleveland is, to have 11 in a row now and be cooking. One thing I was looking at is how strong that Eastern Division is now with rivalries for the Celtics. You've got, Philadelphia is an awesome rivalry. I like how that's developing. I think Detroit has surfaced as a nice rivalry with A.V. Bradley there in the game they just had. And then, of course, the Cavs. You've got three good rivalries for the Celtics right in their own division. And the Cavs now, they've taken over first place, right? So they moved into first place. They moved ahead of Detroit. Detroit's now got their eighth defeat, and now Cleveland's in first place again. That's all pretty cool. You got Wade playing better. You got the players that weren't contributing out the bench giving something finally, and LeBron isn't actually playing as hard or at the highest level as he was when they were losing.
Right. I mean, he's still.
I'm surprised that they're back. I thought they were going to stay down.
No, I mean,
because of lack of coaching. I thought.
Their coaching is terrible, but it doesn't matter. I mean,
it always looks good when you're winning.
Well, that's because the talent overrules over coaching in most cases, and that's the case. And I predicted that they were going to go on multiple streaks throughout the season. They would go 14-2 or 17-3, and that looks like one of these streaks.
I didn't see it coming.
This team is still the team to beat in this conference, and it wouldn't be crazy if the Celtics had the best record and were the number one seed, but it's still the Cleveland Cavaliers that are the linchpin for what the success will be in the conference. And I think we're beginning to see their defense has been picking up a little bit just because players' effort has increased with role players who were really underperforming. And I actually think that when Isaiah Thomas comes back, that their defense is actually going to prove in a tiny bit. Obviously, that sounds crazy because Isaiah Thomas is commonly known and accepted as one of the worst defenders in the league. But the thing that happens when Isaiah Thomas comes back is that he takes so much offensive pressure off of players that are being depended on to contribute too much offensively right now that it's taking away from their defensive contributions. So right now we have Jay Crowder, who's in the beginning end of this streak, and more so towards when they were struggling as a team. He was really doing too much isolation. He was shooting himself deeper into slumps. Amon Shumpert was an isolation scorer, and he looked awful. Certain players were really in over their heads, but now, even before Isaiah Thomas is back, you can tell LeBron is reeling these guys a little bit back, and you can tell that once IT comes back, they're going to be just spot-up shooters that are going to be able to have their defensive focus in the game. And one player more so than any of the others is LeBron. And LeBron right now is taking the blunt force of every single responsibility for this team, and that's one of the biggest reasons that this defense struggles, because the list is something we'll talk about. When you talk about top defenders in the league, LeBron at his best is a top 5 defender in the league, but at his worst is a maybe even a top 100 defender. It's very unusual, the contrast that you get from LeBron James with when he's motivated and when he isn't motivated. Yeah, and that has a lot to do with how much effort he's putting in on the offensive end.
Exactly.
Endurance.
And sometimes he has to.
Right, exactly.
I mean, how much can you do?
Exactly.
And so he has to kind of temper. I take a little issue with Colin. I mean, we all love Isaiah. But he's not the worst defender in the league. It's all size because he battles, he fights, he rebounds, he works
effort-wise, he's a good
so it's not that he's not a defender. It's that he's 5'8" or 5'9" is what it is. So
there's a big difference between not having the defensive tools and it not mattering because you're 5'8" and you only weigh 180 pounds. So, I mean, that's the difference. He tries really hard. He's in the right spots. He stays in front of people, but it doesn't matter because when he's going up against Russell Westbrook or even players like Jeff Teague or whoever it is, that person can shoot over him, drive by him, and is stronger than him, so it doesn't really matter.
And he supports your argument, too, because when he had to score 20 points in a row for the Celtics in the fourth quarter, obviously he can't be a shutdown defender on the other end. So they were trying to help him out a lot a lot last year. So.
I think another streak waiting to happen again is the Clippers. That's they got a couple wins in there on both sides of their streaks. And if I had a chump for this week, Austin Rivers, I can't believe what he did to Blake Griffin when he actually sat on his leg. He could have averted. It was ridiculous what he did in that.
It wasn't Austin Rivers' fault.
Austin Rivers did not. He didn't have any conscience of all of what was happening in front of him.
Literally 0%.
He could have easily not done that.
No, absolutely not.
He didn't fall. He kind of eased himself onto Blake Griffin's leg in a bad position. That's how I saw it.
That's not what happened. Blake Griffin was on the floor. Austin Rivers also going for the ball. Lonzo Ball bumps Austin Rivers unintentionally. Unintentional bump, also going for the ball. If anything, Lonzo Ball is to blame for the unintentional injury of Blake Griffin, not Austin Rivers. Austin Rivers was going for the ball and he got hit from behind and made him fall in an awkward way.
That's not how I saw it.
Well, you should watch the replay.
Well, I've watched the replay.
Watch it some more and watch Lonzo Ball.
I never saw anybody. If you got bumped and you got forced and you got out of sorts and you fell on the guy, one thing, but he kind of eased himself back, could have caught himself, and he lands right on Blake Griffin's. Actually sat on his leg. It was
clearly very unintentional, and it was clearly wouldn't have happened if he didn't.
I'm not saying it was intentional, but I think he could have avoided it. I think he should have known. He should have known that Blake Griffin was there.
Blake Griffin's injury prone, and that type of freak stuff happens to him all the time.
Sort of a contrast of a team that I really like right now, a team that I really don't like. I like Utah right now. I really like what they're allowing Donovan Mitchell to blossom. They're sort of letting him do whatever he wants to do, and that's a beautiful thing.
He's beautiful.
Yeah, really love to watch him play. He's explosive, inside, outside. And then a team that is really hitting the skids a little bit is Minnesota. I saw a little bit about Jimmy Butler, I guess, called Karl Anthony Towns out last week.
It was more so the entire team, I believe. But yes,
yeah, and when Jimmy Butler calls you out, you know something's wrong. So he's one of those max effort guys, and usually he sort of silently leads, and it seems like he's trying to be more vocal now, but it seems like maybe he's just really frustrated.
Butler is definitely a no BS type of player, type of teammate, and you can tell when he gets frustrated, it's something you should pay attention to, and it's something that you should sound the alarm to, even though it's not going to be the end-all be-all. But the problems with the Timberwolves is they frequently play down to their competition, and they have the ability to play up to their competition as well, which is why you see them succeed. In the season series, they're 2-1 against the Thunder this year. Whether or not that's a real competitive series or not, you can debate. But then again, when they play a team like the Clippers last night, without Blake, without Chris Paul, without Teodosic, without basically their entire team, and it's a team led by Austin Rivers and DeAndre Jordan.
Rivers had 30 points, huh?
Austin Rivers, that was one of the best shooting performances he's had in his entire career. But the Clippers were staying with them for the entire game up until the last 4 minutes of the fourth quarter, and then you could really see Austin Rivers started to take himself out of the game, was shooting bad shots that they just weren't falling like they were in the first.
So Austin Rivers also going at it with a fan and getting fined $25,000. That kind of contributes to the chunk.
That's what I thought you were going to say, and I was going to agree with you.
I was going to combine the two of them. I really didn't like. We don't have to keep talking about that.
I don't really like Austin Rivers. I've never really liked him. I think he can score. He's a scorer, and I think that's kind of it. But he's clearly going to have a big role moving forward. Hopefully Teodosic can come back and
he won't make the top 10 shooters.
No, he's not going to make the top 10 shooters. But back to the Jazz. This team is super unusual. So they were commonly accepted last year and the beginning stages of this season before Gobert went down with a similar type of injury that you could bait as Blake Griffin, with a player inadvertently hitting him in the knee. It looks like Blake Griffin's is a little bit more serious, but before Gobert went down, this was a defensive juggernaut, top 5 defense in the league, and they were a struggling offensive team with bad pace and not a lot of movement, and a lot of the times they struggled to find high quality shots throughout their possessions. But since I give Quinn Snyder a lot of props, because since Gobert has gone down, they've completely switched their tone. They're the second most efficient and second highest offensive rating in the league since Gobert's went down. Donovan Mitchell, like you said, has been an absolute just a firecracker out there. He can stretch the floor with his three. He can create shots himself. He's a really, really strong off-ball cutter. He's one of the best backdoor cutters that in the league already. I mean, he has some amazing highlight plays. I did dunkers, and we'll talk about that. He's in my top 20 dunkers. Obviously, we only did top 10, so I didn't write him down. But he's definitely a top 20 dunker in the league already. His elevation and his IQ is up there already. And he's going to have more inefficient games, and we've seen it through the beginning of the season where he goes 2 of 9 and stuff like that. And that type of thing will happen. But
They're better if they let him
yes,
play.
Yes, exactly. I think that Quinn Snyder is really letting the players come into their own in the right way. Rodney Hood is coming off the bench. He's leading the team in the points. He's closer to like 19 now. He was over 20 for the previous week. But all the pieces seem to be fitting together so unusually, and it's working for them. And when Gobert went down, I immediately called them that there's a 0% chance that they make this playoffs. This team might go 0-9 in the games that Gobert is out because of their lack of a wherewithal of an offensive game and because of their dependence on Gobert to make them a defensive juggernaut. So I thought they were going to be awful. So I'm completely surprised by this team. I still don't think that they're going to make the playoffs, but this is a team
they got the division. They could win the division.
They could, but this is something I more so see them fighting for a 10 spot than an 8 or a 7 spot. I mean, right now their division, they're not going to be. I think they're coming in 5th in their division. That's the strongest division in basketball, and there were arguments in the beginning or before the season started that there's a potential for all 5 of those teams, Portland, Minnesota, OKC, and Denver,
they're all mediocre
to all make the playoffs. Yes, they're all mediocre. They're not Houston, they're not Golden State, they're not San Antonio.
So competitively,
but after those 3, they're all playoff teams. If that conference is all in the East, all 5 of those teams are making the playoffs. And we've seen Denver be able to withstand a loss to Jokic. Jokic will be back soon. Say what you will about Minnesota, but they're succeeding. They're 14-10. Portland has had some yips lately, but they figure it out, and they're really dynamic defensively, especially. And OKC is still struggling, but eventually they'll start to figure it out. I mean, Russell Westbrook, Paul George, and Melo are all shooting so far below the league mean for shooting efficiency that it just makes no sense for them to stay that low. But we can talk about them more later. What do you think about Utah and how they've been performing lately?
Well, it's a surprise. I mean, with the way I watch games, I don't get to see them play very much. They're not on there a lot. I still don't expect a lot from them. I like Quinn Snyder. I think he's a good coach, but I just don't think they have the personnel to compete. And I know they won 5 in a row, but I don't see them making the playoffs.
Me neither. I have them probably around the 10, but it's a good story for them to succeed at this level, specifically at the heel.
But I see something different happening with OKC, and that's I watched Houston play a couple times, and the way Paul is adjusted to Harden is very interesting because you're seeing games where Harden is scoring 35, 37 points, and Paul's taking 5 or 6 shots, and he's got 14 assists.
Yes.
So he's plugging in, and when you watch them, I watched them last night against the Lakers a little bit. They've got a rhythm. They've got a flow to their game with those 2 guys in the court, which they kind of know each other in a way that they give them each other space to do this stuff on the court. And what you're starting to see now with OKC is the last 2 games, Carmelo hasn't taken many shots.
No.
And you say, so he's taken scored 9 points 2 games in a row. He's taken 7 shots in one game and 9 shots in the other, while Westbrook and George are taking 20 shots a game.
Right.
So is something happening there, whether it's Donovan or is somebody seeing the light there where it's not going to, we were talking last week, where somebody's going to play not second fiddle, but third in line.
The pecking order.
Pecking order. Is something happening there? That's
It's starting to come about a little bit, and I think it will eventually, and that's what happens when you put 3 high-power offensive players together. Eventually, there needs to become an order for who's the most dominant, who's going to get the most looks, who's going to have the most offensive actions run for them. But so that's something that happens eventually. I think that Melo will shoot more than 7 and 9 shots.
How about the game Steven Adams had?
He's great. I mean, he's the third best. He's the third best player on the team.
11 for 11 and 5 for 5 from the field. They weren't all dunks. I mean, and then he played real well again last night too.
So the thing that's keeping them alive is their defense, and Paul George is a legitimate top defender in the league.
Yes.
He's an all NBA first team defender, and I think that's where he's going to finish. And he's going to get Defensive Player of the Year votes if this team stays in the top 10 defensively, which is something I think they will do. Roberson gets a lot of acclaim, but I think they really need to dial it back his minutes. I think when he's on the floor, they can really hone in on whether it's Melo or Paul George as the second creator, because he's such a non-factor offensively. And I think he should really come in as more of a defensive spark plug when an offensive player on the other team heats up. I think that's what he should be.
So their streak is pretty impressive. They got 17 wins now, and they've got a 6-game winning streak also. Houston, right? Houston
is the second best team in the league. Any other year where the Golden State Warriors don't have the 3 top 11 players in the league and then Draymond Green, this Houston team is the best team in the league. And it's a team that if you place them into any year from 2000 to now, you could argue that this is one of the best teams that we've seen in the past couple of decades. This is an incredible team. Their offensive firepower is unmatched by sans Golden State, and the way that they've really upped their defensive intensity with the pieces that they brought in, and with the effort and just improvements seen from their younger players, specifically Capella, is groundbreaking. They're exciting. They're great to watch, and I love them. I think they're an awesome team. I really hope that playoff matchup happens, and I hope it goes to at least 7 between Golden State
And Paul is really an elite point guard, and there's only a couple in the league that can be compared to him, I think. I'm enjoying watching him play, and I was down on him when he bailed out of the Clippers and all that stuff, but they got a nice thing going.
One thought about Houston, and then we'll spin it, even though they're not on a streak.
I was going to say I thought about OKC, but I think they have found something as George as the second guy. Clearly, Melo is not sort of evolved yet from what he was in New York. So, I mean, he could end up the sixth man there for all we know. I know that sounds kind of drastic.
I think that they should take out Roberson. I think if they put another shooter on the floor, I think the extra space that would create would really take off some pressure from Melo's.
Carmelo's is too much of an alpha. You know, and that you have already Westbrook is the biggest alpha of the league, and kind of has to be.
No, of course.
He has to be for that team to succeed.
He needs to have that usage rate to be effective.
And George, I think, could coexist with that alpha mentality, but I don't think you could have two alphas.
It's so unusual. They're all shooting close to 40%, and it's just like Paul George.
Especially Westbrook, he should be. George was 2 for 17.
We're going for no doubles.
Well, we'll see.
No doubles. Big money, big money.
Immediately.
I mean, what are the odds of that? There's 10 things on the. And you're going to get again.
I need to put some.
Oh, we go right to the top 10. Shay really wants to do it.
I love it.
I need to put more WD-40 on that.
Yeah, I guess so.
All right, so top 10. So I literally have like 30 things on this page here. I'm going to expand it on the wheel just so we could fill up the wheel a little bit more. We had the top 10 shooters and dunkers, so we won't talk about those. I'll throw out some lists that I've created already, and you can just choose one that you want to talk about. Lists that I've done: passers, defenders, post players, two-way, and I started to do who carries the ball the most in the league, top 10 carries. But there's a list that you could also talk about that I haven't actually hammered out, but I'm going to. Top 10 hair, the most underrated player, top 10 clutch players, the best looking players, the nicest form, who's the best teammate, the top 10 courts.
I like the top 10 courts.
Wow.
I think there's a number one court by far. The nicest court in the NBA is the Barclays Center.
I like that court. It's a nice court.
It's beautiful.
Really
You've got the parquet.
Herringbone. Isn't that like a herringbone?
It's a herringbone, and then you've got the lighting. They do this theater lighting in there where the whole place is pitch dark except for the court. And then I like the black contrast color. That to me, that's as nice a court as I've seen.
It's too bad that their fans don't show up. You know, I hear the intensity and the just over the aura of that arena just isn't there, and it's disappointing because I know what you mean. The optics of that arena is awesome. I agree. I really like that. When I thought of this, I also thought of doing a worst courts in the league, and I think that the Jazz's court is just so bad. It doesn't have that theater type lighting, so you can see the crowd. The difference in contrast between the light wood with the dark paint and the dark sidelines and the dark, it's hard to watch, especially when you have a light jersey versus a dark jersey. You got to kind of squint to watch it.
And that makes a difference
when I'm
watching
a boring place like Utah.
Well, the problem is it's not a boring court. It's just like it's unappealing to the eye.
Yeah, and I agree. So if I'm watching a game, I like to see a court that's appealing to my eyes.
Right, that helps the game.
For me, it does.
Yeah, definitely. So it's something about when Milwaukee had that Mecca court. I thought that court was awesome, especially how it looks. I think that more that.
So they played on that once this year, didn't they?
Yeah, just one time. They probably only will play it once. But like that warm wood with more like neutralized greens or neutralized reds or whatever it is, something that's less intense. The contrast isn't as high. That's the type of court you want to look for. But I do like courts that have that type of theater look. So the Lakers are famous for having one. The Knicks have a nice court. Obviously, I love the Celtics court just because of the history around that.
Is that new parquet or is that the old parquet? Is that the same? It's not the same.
I don't know what you mean.
Did they install it the same way?
Replicated. It's installed the same way.
It's squares and they put it on, but it's new dead spots. It's not the old dead spots.
Of course not. Yeah.
I played on that court in
interesting.
college. I played on that court once.
Did you?
And was able to test. I was 12th man on my college teams. I wasn't much of a player. Yeah, I guess I made the team. Yeah. But and so I was, and the dead spots were unbelievable. The ball actually wouldn't bounce on those dead spots, and of course the Celtics, they knew where the dead spots were.
Wow, that's great. What a great thing.
Home court advantage.
Is the TD Garden Devin Booker's favorite arena in the league?
Oh God,
it's got to be, right?
He doesn't play like that anywhere else.
No,
that's for sure.
He loves it. He shoots every time. I've never seen a person.
That's an interesting team.
Unconscious green light.
They're better without Bledsoe.
I
I think so.
I think they just have better chemistry without Bledsoe. So you could
Well,
say
the chemistry, they played better without
They still
Bledsoe.
stink. They still stink.
But
they're better than the Grizzlies.
I wish Booker wasn't so good because I would have liked to have got him like a year or two ago, whatever. And they kept going they're talking about, and he was only sixth man at Kentucky. Yeah, well, Kentucky had 7 one-and-dones that year.
Right,
Somebody
right,
had to
right.
be the sixth man.
Well, I mean, Calipari says that he's his best shooting guard that he's ever had. All right, let's
shooter.
link that to another discussion. We're not going to spin the wheel, but let's just jump to top 10 shooters. I have Devin Booker at 10 on my shooter list.
Wow, I put him higher than that.
I'll run through the rest of my shooters. I got Steph Curry, Klay Thompson, Damian Lillard, James Harden, IT, even though he's hurt, CJ McCollum, Kyrie, Bradley Beal, JJ Redick, and then I have Devin Booker as 10. What do you guys got?
Well, I think Redick is up there. I love Redick as a shooter. I think he's a legitimate sniper.
Something that I put into consideration for how I was determining my thing is I put range, the ability to create your own shot, the gravity that the defenses pay you attention, your consistency, your clutch factor, and then just your versatility as a shooter.
The other thing I was thinking about was I was looking at three-point snipers. You know, not guys, but the guys that's what their job is
Like
to
Korver.
shoot. And you're Korver, but and I know I'm allowed to take some abuse on these things because but I think Joe Harris is a really
Get your Virginia
strong
bias
shooter.
out of here.
I
Oh
know
my
that.
God.
But I
Virginia
mean,
bias
but if
outta
you look
here.
at what he's doing and the shots that he's hitting, and he's 6'6", he is he's stepping up in that area as a significant sniper in terms of a shooter out there. I don't know how long it's going to last.
He's a dependable role player, catch and shoot
He can
three-point player.
shoot, and that's what
I'm
Korver
gonna
does.
poo-poo that pick.
Not a top 25 shooter in the league.
I have very, very similar picks to yours. I do have Korver third. I'm with you on the sharpshooting. I mean, he can just shoot.
How about
from
Waiters
anywhere.
from? Do you think he's streaky? Or you think
He's
a
too
real
streaky.
shooter?
Too streaky.
Yes.
He went 1 for 9,
He's
1 for 11 last night against
He's the
Warriors.
top 10 list of people who love to shoot,
Yes.
but not
Yeah,
necessarily
I saw
love to
that.
get it.
Rational
in.
confidence.
But how about
definitely
Kyrie? You can't leave Kyrie off.
He's
Kyrie
got,
on my list. I
he's
got
got
seven.
Kyrie. I
Kyrie
got
seven.
Kyrie 6.
Yeah, he's
Kyrie's
an
7.
amazing shooter.
I also had Kawhi on there because I think he's really developed into
How about Tobias Harris?
a go-to
No.
shooter.
His percentages are way up. And
I mean, if you put
look at the game he had against. He hit 5 for 5 threes against
if you
the
put Tobias
Celtics.
Harris on the top
the
10
team is a
discussion,
good
you got to put
team.
Jason Tatum in the top 10 list. I mean,
You could, but
I think body of work speaks to this list more than anything else.
Kevin Durant, you don't have on that list.
I don't have Kevin Durant on that list.
He
Probably
could
should be.
arguably be put on that list. I had the
I
Houston
think
Rockets.
Durant should be on
I
the
had
list.
tied with Harden. I had CP3 and Eric Gordon. Eric Gordon hits.
I don't know.
Absolutely.
I think CP3 may be a top 30 shooter in the league.
Sweet
Durant's
stroke.
probably a top 15 shooter in the league. I'm talking more about your ability to create your own shot, the likelihood that you make any shot, and just how much attention that gets paid to you defensively. This is something that I did with other lists as well. One of the lists that maybe
Well, you
we'll
got to
talk
say
about.
that before you
I did.
ask us to
I
have
did.
a list.
I
because
did. Well,
I'm thinking about guys that
you
can
You
just
can use
knock
your
it down.
you can use your own criteria. That's fine.
Pure shooters is what I'm
Based on
thinking.
what
You
you
can use
said,
your own criteria.
I'll put Eric Gordon on that list for sure.
No, that's fine, but I mean, he doesn't create his own shot as well as these other guys that I have. I mean, I put JJ Redick at 9 because I don't think he has the ability to create his own shot as well, but his ability to move off ball and create his own space.
Yeah.
And
So by
they
my
just-
definition,
defensive
Always
grab.
adding parameters.
No, I just do. I'm allowed to have my own criteria for a list that I create. You guys can have your own criteria. I'm trying to back up why I put a player where on my list. I don't know. I think it makes sense.
I see.
I don't know. Some player that no one said yet. I think Lou Will is teetering on a top 15 shooter in the league as well. He's been very consistent. His body of the work speaks to that as a clutch factor. I think he's really in there.
Isaiah's a shooter.
Isaiah's 5th on my list.
He's what?
5th.
Wow, good, very good.
Yeah, he's going to help that out. We'll do one more list. I'll just flip the page. All right. I did a top 20 defenders. I'll just bring them out. I don't know if you probably don't have this yet.
Bring
but
them out.
I got Kawhi, Giannis, Rudy Gobert, Paul George, and Marcus Smart are tied for 4th. Jimmy Butler, DeAndre Jordan, Patrick Beverly, Anthony Davis, and Chris Paul. That's my top 10.
Malcolm
Nice.
Brogdon's an excellent defender.
Not a top 20 defender in the league.
I have Avery Bradley.
Bradley.
In my,
He was-
in
he
my
was
top
11th.
5.
He was 11th
okay.
for me.
Because what he did to the Warriors was like
Yes.
when we lost him, that was one of the things I was really worried about. Was like he would really shut down Klay Thompson, and then he was even shadowing Steph Curry really well.
His situational defense is incredible. On ball, especially on ball handlers, and a shooter
I
that moves
hesitate
off
to
the
say
And
it, but
full
what
court,
about,
too.
What about Draymond?
I have Draymond 19th on my list.
Thank you.
I have Draymond.
Good defender.
I
Is
have
it 9th?
19th.
19th.
I have Draymond in my top 10, which I
Yeah.
thought you'd like because you always think that we crap on him, but I really like what
He's a
Draymond
villain.
does. I actually have Marcus Smart in my top 10.
4th
as
best
well.
defender on his team.
Who's that?
Draymond Green.
Oh, okay. I don't agree with that.
Klay Thompson is a better defender.
Klay Thompson, I've got 10th.
I got Klay Thompson 10th.
Marcus Smart, I think I have 4th.
Yeah, Marcus Smart's 5th. I mean, Marcus Smart can defend anyone in the league. I mean, his ability, him and Chris Paul have this defensive ability that when they get posted up on, they have the advantage against the bigger guy. And it's something that no one else, no other guard in the league has that characteristic while also being an elite perimeter defender.
You know who's a real good defender is Joel Embiid.
Yeah, Embiid is my 13th defender.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, here's my.
Embiid is a defensive player of the year candidate right now. He's
absolutely.
Up there.
So here's my list. I got Avery Bradley, Kawhi Leonard, Marcus Smart, Embiid, Draymond Green. I have Al Horford.
Horford's 14 on the list.
CP3, Anthony Davis, Rudy Gobert, and Klay Thompson.
Yeah, good list. Good list. Something about. Paul George and Jimmy Butler are such elite two-way players, and that's another list that I've made. And I really think that because of their offensive resume, that their defense really gets swept under the rug and forgotten about. And both of those players are such stalwarts on that end. And right now, I already said it, but Paul George really needs to be recognized for his on-ball and off-ball D, his ability to shut down the best player on the other team, and he's the main driving factor of that defense. And you can say the same thing about Jimmy Butler.
Another real good defender that is just starting to surface in terms of playing time and a position on a team is Chris Dunn.
Yes,
Dunn
love Chris Dunn. Okay, so I'm like pretty bullish on the Chicago Bulls, which is a funny thing to say.
They've only got 3 wins.
Okay, but that's okay. So that's
pretty off.
Pretty off. Yes, them being off right now makes me like them more for the upcoming years. A list I'm going to make is standings for future teams, top next 10 years, what team is going to be up there. And I think the Bulls are a top 18 team. And
they're bullish for Bagley. How about that?
Yes,
that could be
exactly.
a hashtag.
Okay, so
bullish for Bagley.
So think about the lineup next year or 4 years from now. If you have Zach LaVine and Chris Dunn as your starting backcourt, a great matchup and pairing.
Dunn is not a lock as a good player in that league.
He's a lock as a good defender in the league.
As a good defender.
And he's showing instincts as a ball handling player.
He'll never be a point guard.
But he's going to play the point guard for that team. And I think.
And then they're in trouble.
I think it's okay. I think
he doesn't have a point guard's mentality. I mean, I watched him play every game at Providence.
It's coming, though.
It's not. I watched him 4 years at Providence. He didn't have it at Providence 4 years. The guy will never be a point guard.
Have you watched the 9 games since he's been starting for the Bulls? Because
I've watched some of them. He has games where
his instincts are increasing. You know, he's learning defenses a little bit more.
You know,
his reaction time is
within 5 feet
increasing.
of the basket, he shot 40%
Yes, he's
40% within 5 feet of the hoop.
He's incredibly. He's way better as a shooter, but he's still not there. His shot is very inconsistent, but his ability to find effective shots is what I'm liking.
His court vision is really bad for a point guard.
It's increasing. Again, I'm saying all of these things as a point guard are on the way up.
Find another point guard is what I'm saying. If I'm Chicago and you want to be one of the top, find another point guard.
No, keep him there because he pairs with Zach LaVine very well. And if you have that backcourt with
Larry bench like Smart
with Larry Markkinen and either Bagley or Ayton or whatever that player is, that's a foursome that coming in 4 years, that's a foursome that I want to pay attention to.
Do not include Chris Dunn in that foursome.
That's a foursome Chris Dunn is a part of.
I think we all get that you don't like Chris Dunn.
Well, I've watched him play a lot, and I like his personality. I just think he's been consistently overrated as a collegian, and I've watched him. I mean, 40% within 5 feet of the hoop is horrible. He's not a very good foul shooter.
Not a very good
foul shooter. He doesn't have a point guard mentality. He's got bad court vision. He's a very good defender, and he's athletic. I see there's a spot for him, but it's not as a starting point guard.
When Marcus Smart
that team will fail with him as a starting point guard.
When Marcus Smart came into the league, he didn't have the instincts as a pick and roll ball handler.
You're wrong about that.
Yes, no, I'm not.
Marcus Smart from day one is a facilitator. He's somebody that gets you into your offense right away.
No,
he was better than Isaiah Thomas at getting the team into the offense.
Not as a rookie, not as a second-year player. This is the player he's become, and that's what I'm telling you that Chris Dunn is going to become. He's going to become a reputable ball handler in pick and roll situations.
There's no comparison between Marcus Smart. Marcus Smart is so much better than him as a point guard.
But his first 2 years, he was nothing.
That's not true. That's not true.
I think
the guy, he always had the knack for getting the team into his offense. He always found he makes passes when guys are moving to the ball and they're ready to receive it, not when they're standing still. He always has.
I love Marcus Smart, and Marcus Smart is eons above Chris Dunn as a player right now. But what I'm telling you is if you compare Marcus Smart in his second and third season versus what Chris Dunn is right now.
He's only in his fourth season.
Yes, I know. So 2 years ago, Marcus Smart versus what Chris Dunn is right now is very similar. That's a similar player.
I saw it from the first time I saw him play. I could see his point guard skills. And I was calling at the beginning of this year if they still had Isaiah to actually make Isaiah the sixth man and make Marcus Smart the point guard on the team. And I know he's developed an awful lot, but he always has had point guard skills.
I love Marcus Smart, and you're taking this too much and I'm taking a slight on Marcus Smart. He's in a league pick and roll
wrong
player
on
right
this
now.
as a point guard. it's something, it's like in your DNA. Either you've got it or you don't as a point guard. There's guys that'll never be a point guard no matter what. If Marcus Smart was not a point guard when he came in, you don't become a point guard.
But he wasn't a point guard. He was an irrational shooter in college. That was a bully ball player.
I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about his point guard play, his ability to run an offense.
His vision at Oklahoma State was not there where it is now. It's
his
grown.
vision has always been really good.
No, I think his first 2 years, I agree. His first 2 years, he was pretty rough. It was rough.
We
were all hoping that he would become that guy, and he did.
And he has.
Well, I think you guys are wrong.
I remember saying after 2 years, Smart has so much potential.
Point guards are born. You're a point guard when you're 5 years old.
James Harden wasn't a point guard when he's 5 years old.
He's not a point guard
Yes,
now.
he is. He's one of the best three passers in the league.
He is not.
James Harden, absolutely a top 5 passer in the league.
He is not.
Who's bullish now? You started off by saying you're the bullish one. He's the bullish one.
I think that's a non-negotiable that James Harden is a top 5 passer in the league. I think it's non-negotiable.
I'll take a harder look at that, but
I don't even think that's. You could argue that he's the best passer in the league. I don't have him there.
Uncle Mike said that LeBron's not a top 20 passer. So
I didn't say top 20. I don't think. I think
you said top 20 all time. That's what you said. Yeah,
okay.
and I can see that argument.
I don't see that argument.
Well, I don't know. But
I think of different
Harden's
people
definitely
as
top
passers.
5
I think of
passer.
Steve Nash as a passer.
I like, obviously.
Chris Paul is a passer.
Because they're always looking for behind the backs.
No,
But if you're
because
creating points.
a behind-the-back pass that's an art for him too. And there's guys out there that make a behind-the-back pass. That doesn't mean nothing.
But I'm looking for creating points.
Behind the back passes.
Yeah.
You should watch more Chris Dunn. You should watch more Bulls.
The Bulls are
a watchable team.
I like watching players that I followed in college.
Give the poor kid a chance.
Zach LaVine is coming back in the middle of this month, towards the end of this month. That team is going to be very watchable. And even if that,
I like Markkanen. I think he's a good player.
Dunn shouldn't be the point guard and shouldn't have all those duties. That's fine because
it's by default.
LaVine is another player. I don't really agree with your take that you're born a point guard because players over and over have proven to be able to develop point guard tendencies. Zach LaVine has developed point guard tendencies.
Maybe
as a ball handler and his vision has increased.
He's done a better job than Dunn.
He's still a shot creator, but they're similar, and I think together they
Harden
can
is too much of a shot. Harden is too much of a creator of his own shot to be considered a point guard.
He's leading the league in assists, and he's one of the best pick and roll players that we've seen in this last decade.
If you count the number of bounces he gets, he's a great player. I love him as a player, but
that's part of the offensive scheme. Him dribbling the ball that many times.
Yes, but it allows you to, and you draw the defense. It allows you, and he's a good passer. He's just not a great passer.
He's a great passer.
Okay.
He's a great passer. He had
you guys are seeing different things as great passers. And I don't think LeBron's a great passer either. Well, I just don't think he's a great passer.
We can't go back to that.
His vision and skill is unmatched. What James Harden has in terms of his skill as a passer, in terms of his creativity as a passer, is something that only LeBron can say that he has in the league. And James Harden, as a pick and roll passer, when he gets double teams and they swarm off the double team, he can fit it between his legs, between two players coming with a needle 10 feet away to Clint Capella, who's cutting to the hoop around another player. And there's no one else in the league who does that. And he did that three times in a row against the Clippers a couple weeks ago. And it's just like he does that time in and time out. And he really deserves to be in the top of the discussion in passers in the league.
You know who I think's really evolved as one of the top 10, well, maybe top 15, but Al Horford is becoming one of the best passers in the league. And he's doing the same type of thing. He split a double team with a bounce pass to Jaylen Brown against the Suns.
I remember
And it was the whole
always done that.
The whole sideline was like amazed.
I agree on that.
But he said, I guess his high school coach used to frown upon him taking the ball up. But now, he's really, relishing the ability to take the ball up.
Donovan didn't let him do that either.
And he's opening up opportunities for Kyrie.
There's a change in the game, and you're seeing it with Horford because what's happening with Horford, a point center used to be like Bill Walton used to be a point center, where somebody that could really pass from the high post. Now a point center is somebody that actually takes the ball up the court so that Kyrie can play off the ball, and Horford can actually take it up. You remind me for this last week, so I just want to throw there, but he did mention Joakim Noah as somebody that, when he was at Florida, did the
Still
same
Joe
thing.
Kim.
No,
I'm just looking for him, Joakim or Joakim or whatever. I'm just thinking that if he's got a good, I know that salary doesn't work, but I'm still saying that if he's connected with Horford in a good way, I would look at that guy.
I mean, Noah's been active for 4 games. He's played 3 minutes, and he's been one of the
There's
world's
no room for him in New York
at
all.
Okay, so why does that speak towards him being a good player? There's no room for him. That means he's
They
bad.
want to go because if he was on a role player on the Celtics where he was the backup big, that would be
Tice is better than him. Tice is better than him.
Who?
Tice. It's not even close. Tice is way better than Joakim Noah.
Yeah,
Joakim Noah,
I can see that. Noah plays bigger, but
no, I don't think he does. I mean,
Okay.
Joakim Noah at his best is a backup center on like maybe 3 teams in the league.
And I like Tice too.
I think that's moved past.
You see what Tice said was the biggest adjustment between the European game and the NBA?
Tell me.
The ball.
I don't know what that means. The color of it?
The
Bigger?
texture of the ball. In Europe, the ball is made of this synthetic thing that is sticky. And they say when they come to the NBA, it's the ball is really. That's what Tice is saying. He was reinforced by Larkin, who played in Europe, and they also he said the biggest adjustment he has to make is the ball. He was afraid to shoot in the beginning, especially his threes, because the ball he couldn't hold the ball. He said, for example, a European ball, everybody can hold it around in one hand like that. The American, the NBA basketball, you can't. It slips out of your fingers.
I can palm a basketball.
Maybe they just wash their hands more here in America.
That's what Tice
Yes,
said.
I agree. 100%.
I like
That's what it is.
I like Tice.
These guys have tar on their
And
fingers
he
over
probably
there.
is better than Miller. He probably is better than Miller. But you're looking at a 12th man on that team.
That's
All right, let's-
bizarre.
One more spin.
So Tice isn't getting many interviews if that's what he's saying.
I like Tice. Tice is great. He's played great lately. I hope we get shooters. We already talked about it, so let's just talk about the Celtics.
Celtics.
Since our streak, we've really tailed off defensively. We're down to like 16th in that stretch. We're still number 1
But
defensively.
what Steven says right away is that it's a good thing that our offense has got better.
Yes, our offense is really up there, and our offense in terms of efficiency is ranking top 5 in the league in this stretch, and we've been really good, and we've been hitting shots, and we've been taking smarter shots, and that is something that I want to see. I'm okay with our defense tailing off because I know what we've got.
What I'm not
in our
okay
defense.
with
I'm
is
okay
they
with, I know what we've
got
got.
kicked on the boards by the Suns. I
Yeah,
think
but that's
45-30.
Yeah.
But of course, Chandler had 7 rebounds in one play.
Right.
Did you see that play?
Yes, the
tip. It was all his. I think he got 6 offensive rebounds and that one flurry of them.
Well, I mean, so we're playing. The reason that our defensive rebounding numbers have struggled is because we played against Drummond, who's the best rebounder in the league, and then we played about Tyson Chandler the other day, who's still an elite rebounder. So when you go against elite rebounders, it's going to hurt your rebounding numbers because obviously those guys are going to get theirs. And I'm not that nervous about our defense because we know what we have. We're a versatile switching team with a lot of length and a lot of youth and a lot of explosive defensive mentality floating around from the number 1 player all the way down to the 12th bench player. So I'm really excited about the defense, and it's okay that it's trailed off. But something that is really exciting is the efficiency of our offense and how Kyrie is starting to mesh with other players. Obviously, we've discussed how he's meshing with Horford in the beginning of the season, and that came on and that was clicking immediately. But how he started to mesh when he's on the floor with Tatum and Brown is something I'm starting to see work a little bit better, and I'm still relatively low on Marcus Morris, but when he's in the game with Kyrie, I even like
a step up relatively low?
It is. That's a step up.
I just wanted to clarify that.
I mean, he played great in that Suns game.
He looks to me as though he's the you're always searching for it, and I talked about it before. He looks like the classic Celtics 6-man.
Yes, that's been a discussion. He's a 6-man.
I can't tell when he says
no
that.
true
Like he
6-man
brushed
on this
that
team.
off when they started talking.
He wants to be a starter. He wants to start.
But he seems like a team guy that's
He is.
plugged in.
He is.
So
So
he kind of brushed that off.
I think Brad can get him to buy in as a bench player because if anyone could do
just
it, he
get him 28 minutes off the bench and all the shots he wants. And
No, I don't want him all the shots he wants. His offensive
I think his
repertoire
shot
is still
selection is
solid.
very, very strong. I love his shot selection.
Why?
Because he's always square and he always is taking a fundamentally sound shot.
Yes,
He doesn't take wild shots.
No, but okay, so fundamentally sound and wild is a lot different because
Yes, but
I
I'm
agree.
hearing wild from you.
Okay, because I'm talking wild.
I don't think he does take wild shots.
I'm talking wild in terms of ill-advised shots. That's what
I'd
I'm talking
rather
about.
have. I mean, he's good at when the shot clock's winding down. He's a good guy to get the ball to.
Yeah, in the bench units.
That can create his shot in that way.
Yeah.
He's got a very versatile offensive game where he can play the three. He's got a mid-range game.
Yep.
He can drive it. He's good to the hook.
I don't like when he puts the ball on the floor.
He's very
and
strong.
Puts his head down. You know that he's putting the ball up. More often than not, that's going to result in
He
a
doesn't
turnover.
get his shot
Sometimes
blocked.
he's going to
He
get
gets
fouled.
his shot off all the time. I'm really high on him. I think he's a real key player to this team.
I think he needs to dial it back. I think that we need
No,
to
definitely. He's not taking that many shots, for one
he's
thing.
taking
He
too
might
many
be taking 10 or 11 shots a game off the
too many.
bench.
This is
10 or
the
11
same
shots
guy
is not
that
too
a
many
couple
for
weeks.
He's averaging 13 and a half points and points per minute. He scores more points than Brown or Tatum.
Yeah,
points
that's
per minute.
bad. I don't want that.
I do. Why not?
because I want.
Because he wants
Off the bench,
Marcus
you need a
taking
scorer
shots.
off
Marcus
the bench.
Smart.
You need a scorer off the bench. That team needs a scorer off the bench big time.
I think that in games that you start Marcus Morris, he should not be the player that comes out and then it comes in with the bench unit and is the go-to player.
No, but you can start Baines a lot.
Yes, I agree. That's what I was about to say. I think I like him as a player that is the sixth man that comes in when they should take out either Tatum or Jalen, whoever's less hot in the starting lineup, take them out with
They've been doing
Baines.
a good job with
Take
that.
them out with Baines or with Kyrie, and that's when you throw in Marcus Smart, and that's when you throw in Marcus Morris. And then in the beginning of the second quarter, you keep Marcus Morris in, and then you bring back in whatever player you took it out, whether it's Jaylen Brown or Tatum, and that should be the initiator of that offense. That should be the initiator
I think
of
it's
that offense.
much stronger for the team to be bringing in Marcus Smart and Marcus Morris off the bench than Rozier and Smart, because Rozier and Smart are coming in. They're two guys. You're bringing in a different flavor to the team, so to speak, when Morris is coming into play his position and Smart's coming into play his. I like that addition off the bench right away as the top two guys in and pushing Rozier back. I think that's strong.
No, I mean, I like him as a bench player. I think his contributions.
But I don't bench players as a sixth man, because the sixth man is really a starter. He's also somebody that can finish games and can play at the end of the games. But one thing that leads me to, I think it's amazing that what Tatum is doing. I think it's off the charts what that guy
leading the league in three-point percentage.
He's leading the league in three-point percentage. I think it's now can be said that he's one of the best players in the league. He is a real strong player. And there's not. And as far as
top
clutch, you see his
45
numbers
player.
in clutch time.
Yeah, he's a top clutch player.
He's shooting 63%. He's shooting 63%. He's made every foul shot in clutch situations.
He's measured. And
he's also one of the top 3 rebounders in clutch time.
Yeah, he's phenomenal.
So you found somebody that's a finisher, that's a closer, in addition to that's really strong.
Marcus Morris takes 10.7 shots a game. That's more shots than Al Horford. That's more shots than Jason Tatum. That's more smarts than Marcus Smart, and that's just under Jaylen Brown.
I don't think 10.7 shots is an unreasonable number.
I think when he's taking more shots than Al Horford and Jason Tatum, that's
you average 13.5, 14 points a game on 10 shots. That's good production.
Jalen's really coming into his own right now too. Since his best friend died a couple of weeks ago,
yeah, well, as expected.
He's in one of his hottest stretches. What did he? He averaged 18 points, 5.2 rebounds per game over his last 6, shooting 52%.
Well, yeah, and that's including 2 duds. He had 2 games where he had 2 points.
And he keeps getting better.
In the Sixers game, I was sad.
And they had a season high 32 assists.
Yeah.
I mean, granted, it was against Phoenix, but Coach Stevens was very happy with only 9 turnovers. So their team offense, their team chemistry is really coming together. Granted, you know, Phoenix can't play any defense.
That highlight is awful. Did you see that highlight? I mean, you watched the game. So the Marcus Smart takes a 3. Defense, they have four guys standing in the paint. The ball bounces back to him.
Yeah.
He shoots another 3, 4 guys in the sun still in the paint. Tyson Chandler kind of goes a little bit to the sideline to try to get it. Very easily, Al Horford gets the ball, dribbles out the 3-point line. Still 4 Suns players in the paint. Al Horford makes the 3. It's some of the worst defense I've seen this season. Oh my God, they're
Yeah,
they're a sieve. They're
you
bad.
take any game against them with a grain of salt,
Yes, of
because
course.
they just really
But
don't know how
you're
to
still
play
seeing across
defense.
the league, though, the weak teams beat good teams.
Yeah, which is good. Parity's good.
Yeah.
I like parity.
Well, while you were talking about Drummond and Embiid, I thought I wanted to talk about Embiid with Drummond, because I thought that Drummond comes to town and. Man, did he play a game against the Celtics.
That was the best game of his
26
career.
and 22. He's now at 63%, and it looks like he's got the foul shooting cured.
I'm saying 58.
Van Gundy
58
said he's
is
in
my
better
number.
shape.
58.
But then he goes and he's got that match. That was one of the great matchups so far this year.
Against
This year's
Embiid?
Embiid and Drummond.
Embiid
He
is-
goes in and it's a grudge match because Embiid has called him out as somebody that can't play him, can't defend him.
Yeah, and Drummond came back up at him.
And Embiid does it again.
Embiid dominates him.
I mean, I got 2 new contenders for MVP, and Embiid is one of them.
Embiid's been a contender for MVP
and
since
the other
the
one's
second week of the season.
Porzingis, but Porzingis is just
tailed off.
it's in terms of what you mean.
Did you see
to
his
your
ankle roll?
team. Yeah, I know it's awful what's going on with him. He's saying that he's
lizard.
that he heals real fast.
Yeah, he's a
and
lizard.
he's gonna be fine.
He's calling himself a lizard.
He's calling himself a lizard because he gets better so fast. But that team, Philadelphia, the difference between them with Embiid and without. Is that most valuable player stuff or not?
Well, it is, but at the same time, that's a dependable team. That's a watchable team, and that's a team that can win games even without Embiid. Because what I'm seeing,
I don't think so. What's their record when Embiid's out? They lose.
what I'm seeing,
I think they've lost every game Embiid hasn't played.
No, that's wrong.
Well, how many? I know they lost both the back-to-backs he didn't play.
Yes.
If you miss 10 to 15 games, though, you automatically can't be an MVP in my eyes. If you miss that many games.
But he hasn't missed that many games so far this year.
He's going to. He's on pace to.
He's only not playing back-to-backs.
I think part of being an MVP is you have to be out there. You have to have the endurance.
He's only missing back-to-backs.
So what's going to happen is I think the closer the end of the season is going to come, they're going to be a 5-6 seed in the East, and it's going to be we want a home court series, and I think they're going to push for it, and Embiid's going to play back-to-backs, and that team is going to be the 4th seed in the East.
And I think he's recognized among his peers, Embiid, right now as a force, as a monster.
He says he's the best center in the league, and it's hard to disagree. It's hard to disagree. I mean, there's other players you can argue about
because the best players in the league are saying he's the future.
Right. How many games
he's probably the present right now.
Do you know, Shay, how many he's missed? They played 22 games.
I think he's missed like 6 games.
He's missed 6 games?
I think 6.
That's not good.
I didn't know he had missed 6 games.
There's no way you're going to be MVP. When LeBron James is getting out there every day.
I'm thinking he's only missed like 3 or 4. But anyways.
Let's see.
LeBron's definitely the MVP.
Yeah.
Celtics. Can you name the 4 Celtics MVP winners in history?
Larry.
One of them's a very underrated player, I think. Larry won one.
Bill Russell.
Bill Russell won
Cedric
one.
Maxwell won a Finals MVP.
But this is league MVP.
Kuzi won an MVP.
Yes, he did. Very good. That's not an
yeah.
easy one to get. But the 4th one is pretty under. He's getting an award this week. That's why
Cowens?
Yeah, Dave Cowens was an MVP.
Dave Cowens.
He was also a Rookie of the Year.
Couple of great years.
Yeah, he was also a Rookie of the Year.
74, 75?
And they won a world championship. They won the first world championship after Russell is Cowens' world championship. And in that world championship game, I think he had 28 and 18 against Kareem and held Kareem scoreless for 18 minutes in clutch crunch time. Now there's a 6'8" guy that held. He was an amazing player, and I think in some ways he's underrated, and people forget that.
Tell me your best memory of Dave Cowens.
My best memory of Dave Cowens would be he actually exceeds Marcus Smart in terms of diving for the ball. And he can go from here to the cameras on a dive as a madman and a dive for the ball. Nobody has ever played harder than him. He plays harder than Marcus Smart.
Those are some of my favorite highlights, watching stuff like that. Like when Rodman used to do it, Rodman used to dive into the 3rd row and somehow get it to somebody with a behind-the-back save. It's nuts.
Embiid's played 19 games, so he's missed.
He's played 19, so he's missed
5, right?
Missed 4. 19, they played 23, right?
Yeah, so he missed 4 games.
So that's not bad.
No, that's fine. I mean,
so in the quarter time, it means he'll play.
So he's missed 20% of their games then.
Well, but if he plays, we said at the beginning of the year, if that guy ends up playing 67, 68 games, we'll be pretty happy with that.
I mean, I said that they're.
Yeah.
I mean.
So maybe he'll lose MVP just like he lost Rookie of the Year, not by not playing enough.
I mean, if he continues on this pace, he's playing 66 games. If he plays 66 games, that's a top 6 seed in the conference. I mean,
he may play more games going ahead because they're being very cautious with him.
He's ready. He's ready to play games. He wants to play games, and this team is very fun to watch. And you don't want to play them in the playoffs. All I know is whoever the 5 seed, if they play the Raptors, if they play the Bucks, if they play the Wizards.
I really like the starting 5. I like Covington and I like Saric.
Incredible.
I know you guys don't like Saric, but I think he consistently.
It's not that I don't like Saric. It's just I think he's
not as much as I do.
I just think he's like the 4th or 5th best player in the team,
which is fine.
You're right. That's okay.
And with Redick as a sniper and with Simmons, how do you like Hacker Simmons? You think that's
29 free throw attempts? That's crazy.
24 in the 4th quarter. That's the most ever attempted in the 4th quarter.
Right.
He has not made. I don't know whether he has not attempted, but he has not made a 3-point shot.
No, he's
0.
He's only attempted heaves.
That's a very unusual player.
He's attempted 7 heaves. Yeah, and he's a top 20 player in the league. He's incredible. I mean, he can carry them and he can keep them in games. And we watched that in the game that they played against the Celtics. He was keeping him in that game, and his ability and his effect on that game.
You know what I thought was interesting?
I already have him as a top 10 passer.
Oh, he's a top
I kind of like him as a passer. I think he's got potential. One thing I would say about him is that, and this may be a negative, is defensively, the Celtics were able to line themselves up so Horford played them.
Yeah.
Because you can play a big on him because of his size.
You want a bigger guy guarding.
And Horford, he only had 15 points against the Celtics.
It was still a good game. He had like 15, 8, and 7.
He had a nice game, but Horford, that was that's a good option as a matchup to put your big on him if the big has got some because he can play way off him.
Right. His IQ is really seeping through to the defensive end too, and you can see that his activity in passing lanes.
Why can't he shoot? How come somebody can't? I mean, he can't even shoot to the extent where he can't even take a 3. I mean, Lonzo Ball shoots them. He's horrible at it, but he can't even
I
shoot a
I
three.
think he's just
He'll
not
get
really
there.
getting it into his game yet. He
But
hasn't
how
really
can you
worked it
grow
in.
up with a game? How can you grow up with basketball in your hand? Is he somebody that started playing?
He
Why
probably-
wouldn't he be able
probably
to shoot?
started and he was just like, you're going to handle the ball and you're going to dunk everything.
Was he a right-hand
young.
shooter and he broke his right arm when he was? I don't know what it is. Why that guy
be.
can't
I
shoot?
don't think it really matters. I mean, you
No,
watch
it
the guy
doesn't.
play.
He's a unique player, and he's established himself as a player in his own right. And at 6'10", he's an amazing.
I'm thinking when he gets to his like 4th year, if he can get to a 31% from the three, I think he'll be a perennial all-star, perennial maybe even MVP candidate. This guy is has the potential to be the best player in the league, and so does Embiid, and it's
Wow.
incredible. And if you watch this guy play, his instincts are like the ceiling of them is it's.
How's
you could
Okafor
blast
doing?
him.
What a
Is he,
great team.
Is he
Does nothing.
dressed?
The Okafor dresses sometimes.
He dresses, huh?
Sometimes he doesn't go with the team. Sometimes he does.
Yeah.
It's pretty weird. His situation is unusual.
It's
They
really
need,
unusual.
They need to get rid of him and do something with him. But Ben Simmons, did you see that put back reverse dunk? How many
Yeah.
players do put back reverse dunks?
That's
How many players do put back reverse
That
dunks?
is highlight.
Aaron Gordon.
That adds into my list on the dunkers because that was a great dunk. That was,
Dunkers are on my list. Well, dunkers real quick, and then we'll do the medals. So I had Ben Simmons 10th on my dunkers list.
Wow.
he just made it to 10th on mine.
Yeah, I got Aaron Gordon and Zach LaVine tied for one because they're just so incredible.
So easy.
Aaron Gordon, yeah, it's very. I mean, you could debate that those two guys are the best dunkers that the NBA has ever seen. And Aaron Gordon's ability to also dunk in game, the way that he does with his explosiveness and the way that he floats through the air is incredible. And Zach LaVine's talent as a dunker is the best of all time.
So you got
We're talking about a guy who does in between the legs from the free throw line. Like that's what
Who does?
Zach LaVine. In between
Yeah,
legs from the free throw line. He
yeah,
can do
yeah.
that. Like that's remarkable.
Yeah, has he got good highlights on in-game dunks too? Yeah, he does.
Oh yeah, dunks all over people all the time.
You
Windmills.
it's pretty easy to make a list of dunkers.
yeah.
The newest guys that are in there, I think Jaylen Brown is up there, obviously.
I had
with what
Jaylen
he's
Brown
doing.
like 15th.
I think the kid Cowens from
Oh boy, he's remarkable.
Boy, and he's out injured right now. But
hurt his
boy,
shoulder.
my goodness, now he comes from Wake Forest, right? That
Yeah.
was a good pick. To see,
Oh,
to see
incredible
that.
pick.
He's a solid player, and
rookie
he's a
class is
big-time
promising.
jumper. He's so explosive off the floor, and he's about 6'10", right?
Yeah, he's already an elite rebounder too. I'm really excited
And
about
so
him.
he's a big-time
I
dunker.
got Levine and Gordon, just like you. I got LeBron James just because of his the sheer power that he puts into his dunks.
Yep.
I got
Larry
LeBron.
Nance
I got LeBron
Jr.
third.
Russell Westbrook and John Wall,
Yep,
also because of their size, but they still just throw it down.
They're in there.
DeAndre Jordan,
think I had
of
him at
course,
ninth.
Giannis,
I got Giannis.
Yeah.
and then my two young guys.
Mitchell and Jalen.
We mentioned both of them. I got Donovan Mitchell and Jalen Brown, 9
yeah.
and 10.
You still got Blake on your list, huh?
I don't think. I mean, he knows he's injured, and I know he's having a real bad year and everything. But the guy's a monster.
He doesn't get nearly as much lift as he used to on his dunk.
He still covers a lot of space between
Okay, I
him,
see
where
what
he is in the rim,
Yep.
and he really soars.
I don't think anybody could really argue with putting
No,
Blake
no,
Griffin
Well, how about
on that
Oladipo?
list.
Yeah, maybe.
Maybe,
top 20.
huh?
All
How
right.
about Joel Embiid?
Yeah, he's on there.
I like
Forceful
Embiid a
dunk.
lot.
Forceful dunk.
Joel Embiid could be on every top 10 list in the NBA except
He's
maybe
getting
for
there.
shooters.
He's getting there.
Maybe. All right.
he's a good
Orlando at Charlotte.
Oh, Charlotte. He may be the first
Orlando.
Steve Clifford. Really?
pick. Yeah.
I like him. He's a good coach.
I like him too, but the
Air
team is
Gordon. We call him Air
Milwaukee at
Gordon.
Boston.
just- Boston's winning every game.
Boston.
The Warriors at the Pelicans.
I'll go.
I don't know who's playing and who's not playing. It seems like
How
it's,
come Davis has been out?
So frustrating. It's like roulette.
It was really weird injury. He hurt his pelvis.
Oh.
And he was going up for a rebound, and he kind of like up faked, jumping for a rebound, kind of. And then he came back down. He never left the ground, but it was kind of like onto his toes coming back down. And as he was coming back down, it was while he was also boxing out. And a guy kind of pushed him in the back. It wasn't a foul or anything, but it was just he was preparing his position. And you could tell that he kind of really got set off. And he grabbed his groin and he fell to the ground.
Where is
Boogie
this,
had
where is this
38,
game?
and Rondo
It's
had his first
at-
double
at,
figures.
New
So I'm
Orleans.
going with Golden State.
New Orleans, because it's in New Orleans.
Yeah, okay. Detroit at San Antonio.
I'll go
San
with
Antonio.
San Antonio's lineup last
like
night
rapid
was
fire, we got 2
ridiculous.
minutes.
Yeah, because Aldridge was out.
Oh
Right?
my God, it was awful. Utah, OKC.
Tony Parker. didn't play,
OKC.
though. OKC.
I got OKC too. Washington at Portland.
Portland. Washington does horrible on the road.
Washington does do horrible.
I'll stick with Washington, though.
Okay, Memphis at the New York Knicks.
New York.
New York.
Memphis.
Wow, we're going to see quite a losing streak.
Memphis is
Wait, Porzingis is
sliding.
out though. They're not that.
He might play. He might play. This is. We're talking Wednesday. We're talking
I'll go
Wednesday.
with New York.
Same. Detroit at Milwaukee.
Milwaukee.
I don't like what's happened with the Bucks, but I'm going to go with the Bucks. I'll take the home
I
court.
picked Detroit. Denver at the Pelicans.
Take Denver there.
Jamal Murray won them that game
I'll
against
go
the
with
Lakers.
the Pelicans.
Houston at Utah, sorry.
Gotta go Houston.
Yeah, I think I'm going to go with Utah.
Really? That's
Yeah.
crazy. Golden State at Detroit.
Big win for Detroit.
Golden State.
They beat them before. Cleveland at Indiana. I'm getting towards the end.
I think it's time for them to lose the win streak. I'm going to go with Indiana. They
Cleveland.
can only win so many games in a row.
Yeah, they got some chump change games. Boston at San Antonio. Boston.
San Antonio.
You're such a loser. Miami at Brooklyn in New
They owe
Mexico.
San Antonio.
I'm trying to be a winner.
Miami at Brooklyn in Mexico.
Miami, because Mexico, I guess.
Yeah, Miami. I'll go Miami.
Lakers at Charlotte.
Proximity.
3 more.
Lakers.
I also got
They're
Charlotte.
going down.
Philly at Cleveland.
Cleveland.
Cleveland. Good matchup,
Houston
though.
at Portland.
I
Portland.
think Portland's going to win.
I got Houston.
Wow.
And last one, Philly at the Pelicans.
Philly.
New Orleans.
I got Philly. You got New Orleans, and I got Philly.
This is going to be my first one.
And this is, you really predicting it. All
How
right.
does our ball played bad again last night?
It'll be really exciting to be at the game tonight. I'll let you know how it goes. You want any questions for me to ask anyone?
Well,
quick.
I just want you to see what's going on. I just want you to say hello to Deli. But
Deli.
Malcolm Brogdon, I want you to follow. I want
Yeah.
you to see those
No
guys.
Deli. I'm not going to say hi to Deli. That's all the time we got. Thank you for joining My Wheelhouse. See you next week.